And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Caro. This is a strategy game for families. It is an abstract strategy game, and there's no theme. I mean, they don't even try to have a theme. If you look, it is just a bunch of wooden blocks. Placing these wooden blocks on the board gives you points. When you're done, you're done. This is how it works. At the beginning of the game, each player gets 12 caros, 3 of each of the 4 colors. One player is going to go first, and that player is going to place one of their caros in the middle of the table. That person is going to get 10 points, which are recorded on a score pad here. The next player attaches 1 to that. So let's say, for example, they put a red next to that gray. We look at this little score sheet here, and we see red next to gray is 8 points. So that player now has 8, 10 to 8. The next player maybe puts a white next to the red, and that player gets 6 points, which we score here. And then maybe the next player puts a black here. Black next to gray gets 4 points, and black next to white gets 2 points. So that's a total of 6 points. Now players are going to continually take turns adding the different tiles out on the board, but they have to follow some rules. You can never put a tile next to a tile of the same color. That's not allowed. Also, when there are 2 tiles touching the same thing, so both of these reds are touching this white, I can't put a third attached to that white. And finally, when you have 3 in a row diagonally, that's the most you can have diagonally. So I could not put another red here. That's basically it, except that you're also building in a grid. Now the size of the grid depends on the number of players who are in the game. In a 4-player game, it's 8 by 8, 7 by 7, 6 by 6. So let's say I'm playing a 2-player game with somebody, and someone puts a brick here. At this point, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the columns established, and maybe later on someone does this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now everything has to be in that 6 by 6 area. You'll continue to place these blocks. If, when you place a block, it's the last block of that color that you have, you get double points. So a black-red gives me 10, and a black-gray gives me 4, so that's 14 times 2. I'd get 28 points for that one. As you get points, so let's say on the next round, it's round 2, this player got 6 points, I just add them together. 16, maybe next time they get 10, so now it's 26. And that way you can keep track of people putting out the blocks, and at the end, whoever has the highest score is the winner of the game. Well, if this game ever bombs, I have enough blocks, for kids to play with. My son, when one day he was in here looking for something to do, and so I just gave him these blocks, and he spent a long time stacking the blocks and building things. These are great blocks for kids, but let's talk about this as a game. I do like the fact that whoever puts the first piece out gets 10 points. That's pretty simple. So they're going to try to put pieces out. Now what's interesting about this game is you want to get your low pieces out as fast as you can. When I look at the different combinations here, white with gray is 1, white with black is 2, white with red is 6. While gray is 1 with white, gray is 4 with black, and gray is 8 with red. And then black is 2, 4, and 10, and red is 6, 8, and 10. Red is your best color. So you want to get rid of these small ones first, but at the same time, you might want to get rid of the red ones quickly so that you can put your third red one down when it's optimal. The game actually had more tactics than I had expected, because the obvious thing here is basically don't set up the next person. That's how it works, All right, I'm going to give you this place where you can put 2 blocks, but it's not going to be worth that many points. And watch what they have. Now, the rules are pretty easy to follow. Don't put ones next to each other, but you got to keep an eye out for it. Don't put more than 2 next to the same block, and don't have more than 3 diagonally. And you will find often during the game, you're like, oh, you can't actually place it there. Now, the game has this whole, if someone lets go of it and they've sinned, blah, blah, blah. No big deal in our groups. When I play with it, just fix your error. But that's it. Now, I'm not going to make this game try to sound more strategic than it is, but I like sometimes these abstract games that go back to the basics. This one here is very simple. You can keep track of the points. You have whites and reds and blacks and grays, and the whites are obviously the least valuable while reds are the most, but playing your whites early is not always the best strategy. It might seem like it at first, but if you play because you're constrained by that imaginary square, 8x8, 6x6, or whatever, you're going to find that you eventually will run out of really good places near the end of the game. Your last couple pieces aren't going to score you that many points. And when you score the last block of each group and get double points, that's a big deal. So if you can run that up in the middle, if you can score, I guess the highest score you get with this game is 40. By placing a red or a black next to two other reds or blacks. The 40 points, 10 times 2 is 40. I've not seen it done, but I have seen scores of, let's see, here I see a score of 36, which was, actually I scored that, and still lost the game, because when you score sometimes 2 or 3 points on a round, that's not very useful. You want to score a maximum points every single round, but also set yourself up for those bigger points later on. So I like it. It doesn't look like much, just a bunch of blocks. You put this on the table. I don't even think many people would even realize that it's a game. But it's a good one, and it works just as well with 2 players, and it goes to 4. And there's not many abstract strategy games like this that work well with 4. I think this is one of those, or with 3, again, one of those. I think there is a small thing that if the person before you is the weakest player, you have a better advantage. You have to be careful about that, because following someone who sets you up can do well for you. But I think once people are of equal skill, they can play very well. That is Caro. Dice Tower Judgment approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!